All right, you guys, welcome back to officially episode 2 of the Speak Loud podcast. Technically, like our 20th or 30th episode that we've done on the Growth Grit Grind. But as most of you know, we've transitioned, kind of pulled it underneath our brand umbrella and really approaching it similarly as we did before. We're going to be talking to some business owners, we'll be talking to some marketing leaders, and then we're also going to be doing some behind the scenes how-to trainings, whatever you want to call it, on the podcast. So I just appreciate those of you that have always followed along. Some of you that may be seeing this for the first time. And again, if you're watching this clip on TikTok or Instagram, you're like, hey, that sounded interesting. Come on over to YouTube, watch the full episode, or go check out, Apple Podcasts or, anywhere else that you like to enjoy podcasts. We're listed there. But I'm excited today because this is technically our first guest on the Speak Loud podcast under that brand. And it's someone I'm very familiar with. Some of you that may know his famous acting career with Wylie Tire, and most recently an incredible video that was done for Wylie Tire where he was a perpetrator. He was pulled over for driving with bad tires. But my guest today, and I want to introduce him and give him a chance to say hello, is Wes Dorsey from Dorsey Realty Group. Wes, I appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule to jump on with us.
Well, thank you, DJ. It's an honor to be your first guest here on the new redesigned podcast. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you again.
Absolutely. So tell us, to give context, is, Wes is a business owner and a business leader, some might say. And so I would like for you, if you can, just give us a brief introduction to, what you do. Obviously, I said that you're a realtor, but, in your mind, what is exactly that Dorsey Realty Group does?
So I'm a broker associate here at Dorsey Realty Group, brokered by eXp Realty. We offer comprehensive residential real estate services to owner occupants, and we help assist people in selling their residences and also purchasing new homes, and that's our main focus here.
Love that. Well, and I heard something recently. I believe that you were named not only the best realtor in Wylie, but also the best realty group in Wylie. Is that correct?
So I was going to say that for a little bit later, but you brought it up.
We're going to jump right into it.
So fortunately, we've got some great clients and great friends in the community, and this is our 2025 is our 5th year. 5 out of the last 7 years I've been voted best realtor in Wylie, and then for the last 2 years, Dorsey Realty Group has been voted best real estate company in Wylie by the Wylie News Reader's Choice Awards.
Well, that's awesome, sir. Congratulations. I'm not going to pretend like I didn't know that, because I did know that. And I mean, it's a great accomplishment. And, Speak Loud is still trying to get that elusive first Wylie News Award. We're going to try even harder.
You got to get your category on the ballot, man. That's what you got to do.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to really petition for it. I don't know. Maybe I have to do flyers like old school, put them in Walmart, drivers' windshields. I don't know if that'll just make people mad, or if maybe I'll actually get a couple votes from it. We'll have to see. Gotta change it up.
Yeah, you got to get some write-ins, man. There you go.
Yep, we'll see how it goes. But hey, so let's jump into, we changed the podcast format, just a little bit. We still want to have business owners on here and hear about their business and their industry, because I think it will pique people's interest, whether they're interested in going into real estate or they're currently in real estate and they're seeing their own challenges and struggles. But let's kind of back up just a little bit of what did you do, twofold here? What did you do before you were in real estate, and then kind of why did that lead you into your career in real estate?
Oh yeah, so that's a great and long story. Let's say, so like many people that before they get in their entrepreneurial journey, I was working for a Fortune 500 company in the manufacturing sector. I was running a small manufacturing plant here in the DFW area. I was actually working on my MBA down in Dallas at SMU, and while going through those courses, part of that program, you get to take some electives, and I took some real estate electives and just fell in love with it. And that was back in 2008, right after the real estate market crashed, and we saw tons of foreclosure inventory hit the market. And so that really inspired me to, maybe become a real estate investor, right? So while I was doing my MBA course load, in addition to that, I did the real estate classes and got my real estate license, which gave me access to the MLS, and I got to see all the foreclosure inventory before anybody else, and partnered up with some other investors, and we started flipping homes, and that's how I
Okay.
got into the real estate business. Yeah.
At what point did you, I guess, know? Was there just was it a monetary thing, or what was the trigger point of I'm going to leave, say, corporate America and go after the real estate thing full time? What did that look like? What was that moment? Was it a dream you had? Was it just a switch that flipped, or
Well,
was it the bank account?
no, no. So really, I mean, my plans were to, be a corporate guy, right? Move up the ladder, work in corporate America. That's why I was getting my MBA. But that education really opened my eyes to, businesses, how they run, being an entrepreneur, real estate, all these different things that can happen and can do without actually working for somebody else.
Yeah.
Um, and I say, I want to be a real estate investor, but now my primary business is a brokerage, right? Where we help people. We don't really do much investing. We don't um, work with investors primarily. So what happened and how we transitioned from that was as the foreclosure inventory dried up, as the market started improving, there was a big influx of people into the DFW area that wanted to be real estate investors, right? So over time, there was less inventory for the people going after it, and prices were getting driven up, and it just wasn't becoming economical. And it was actually easier for me to secure or obtain just residential buyers and sellers than it was to chase down an investment property to whether to flip it or sign the contract or
Right.
whatever like that. So to me, the easy money was chasing after traditional sales, and
Okay.
so
That makes
and
sense.
yeah, and so we transitioned into that model, and really found a passion for helping people, further their dreams of home ownership, or you know upgrading their home, selling their starter home, moving into their dream home. That came with a big personal satisfaction for myself.
Yeah.
Um, and to go back to your question of what was the point to where it was time to leave corporate America and pursue my entrepreneurial dream full time, was we got to the point, with any kind of corporation, with ups and downs, there's they eliminate jobs, they want you to relocate. We came to the point where the current role I was in was being eliminated, and they wanted me to relocate to Houston, right?
Yeah.
But at that point, I was working my real estate business on the side and had built it up to approximately, I was making probably more than half of what my salary was at my corporate job. And
Yeah.
so, we kind of sit down and said, okay, do we uproot and we move to Houston and start over down there? Continue to work corporate and give up or have to rebuild the real estate business down there.
Right.
We decided, let's give this thing a shot.
Right.
If I didn't give myself, I always tell myself, if I didn't give myself that opportunity, I would regret it. I could always go back and get another job, right?
Sure.
But we had put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into the business. We've grown it. We were doing well. So, we went all in, and
Yeah.
we were successful. So, the,
How did
the,
you
the,
in the early days, beyond the investor side, because that transaction's a little bit different, right? I mean,
yeah.
you were really functioning in that capacity, but when you moved to the residential or the primary ownership like category, like how did you get your first customers? I know a lot of real estate is, referral based, some are, some aren't, but a lot of them are. How did you get your first customers outside of just saying, hey, I'm going to print up these business cards? Like how did you get your first customers or clients?
Interesting. So, we would rehab properties, and then we list them for sale. And then, you can do different marketing techniques when you have listings for sale, right? You got buyers calling signs, you're advertising the property, so you got incoming leads coming in that way. So we had an influx of leads with our listings from our rehab properties, right? But in addition to that, word was getting around, friends and family circles, tight circles, that this is what I was doing, and so I would get referrals that way.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's where the first part of the business comes in, right?
So you had an established line or lead flow that was coming from that, but then they would transition to essentially the other side.
Yeah. So it wasn't, we talk about the first clients, right? Which is totally different than when you have a mature business, real
Sure.
estate business, right? Because you have different marketing pillars in place to bring in leads.
Right.
But the first ones are friends and family and what you got going on, and you know real estate being a real estate agent is a tough business because it's a relationship business. It's a people got to know you do it. And one of the things they say is when you first get your real estate license is you can't be a secret agent, right? You got to let everybody know what you're doing. And
Yeah.
and real estate agents is a profession. They always raising their hand. I sell real estate, right? And it can be annoying, but it's a necessary evil that you got to get your name out because people will forget.
Right. No, I completely agree. And that's kind of like, I guess, moving into like the, I guess, marketing and advertising kind of piece of that. Obviously, as your business grows, and technology changes or or buyer mentality changes, obviously social media, things like that, is what have you seen? And we're going to talk about maybe advancements too, but like what have you seen in the real estate industry that are like kind of, I guess, more of the common marketing advertising approaches? I mean, and ideally good and bad. Like, what have you seen? And if you want to pick one from each, that's fine. But like, what would you say are like some common good ones that people are doing? And then what are some of the, I guess, hurdles that you see some real estate, you're like, I see what they're trying to do and it's just not a good
Uh,
look, or what do those things look like?
well, yeah, and to just piggyback on the story, when you first start out and you get your first few clients or whatever, and you're seeing this thing grow, the first thing a lot of people do is they go to you know, technology or platform based companies that have platforms with built-in CRMs that do the advertising for you, and they bring in leads, right? So you pay for that, right? And so when I wanted to grow the business, right, that was one of the first things I did. You can go advertise with Zillow, and they'll send you leads. You can advertise with different platforms like Commissions Inc. or which is a CRM base where they run ads for you and bring in leads, and it's all pay to play, right?
Sure.
Um, so those are some of the early things that people do um, to get easy leads. They pay for it.
Yeah.
They don't understand the marketing. They don't understand how to market for themselves. And so they pay somebody else to do the marketing and bring in leads, which is nothing's wrong with that, right?
Sure.
There's a lot of big successful teams and brokerages that's what they do. They spend a lot of money on these platforms to bring in leads for their agents. Um, you know, what I saw early on was I could spend if I learned how to do the marketing, I could spend less money with greater results to bring in the same amount of leads, right?
Right.
And so, one of my mentor's famous words is the best marketer always wins. I mean, you don't
Sure.
have to you don't have to be the best whatever, but if you're the best marketer, you're going to succeed in the marketplace.
Sure. And I think that's
Right.
that's true across any industry. I mean, I think that's just something that anyone watching this could take away is that, I mean, I think that's truth everywhere. I don't care if you're a restaurant or a realtor or you're a marketing guy like us. Like, I think that it just brings truth. If you're the best marketer in the room, then people feel more connected to you. They seen you more, they trust you more, all of those things. So I know, I think
Right.
that applies across the board. What would
For
you
sure.
say, just looking at those, marketing, advertising in your industry, why do you feel, what are the biggest challenges, when it comes to trying to, whether it's market yourself as, the local guy or as the expert, what are the biggest challenges, as a whole, just for any realtor that's starting up in, the Wylie area tomorrow, or even you currently? I mean, what makes it challenging? If there are challenges, maybe it's just super easy
Well,
for you.
well, it's not easy. Nothing in business is really easy, right?
Sure.
I think what it boils down to is there are so many different ways to market and niches that you can follow, and especially in the real estate business, right? Um, my big takeaway is you got to pick one and be consistent, right?
Yeah.
And back in the day, it was all about print, getting in magazines and on the shopping carts at the grocery store and all that good stuff. That just doesn't work. There's no ROI to that.
Sure.
I mean, I've done it. I mean, I've had my picture on the shopping carts at Kroger here in Wylie,
Yeah.
and the only comment I got was from clients taking their pictures with that sign and sending it back to me saying, I saw you
Which
in
is
Kroger.
great, right? Like you can turn that into some content, but at the end of the
It
day,
is
well, you're
great.
investing in that. It's not generating the result you're hoping for.
Right. You can take that money, which those things aren't cheap. You can take that
Yeah.
money and invest it in some online marketing on social media or Google, and some quality content and get a whole lot more, ROI on your dollars.
Do you feel like, and I mean, this is, it's to y'all's industry specific, but just in general, do you think that a lot of people coming into either a new market or just a new line of business, do you feel like it's, they should really find their lane and stick with it? Meaning that if they find that the grocery carts are working, then do that. Or do you, mistake I feel like I see a lot of people make is they're like, I'm going to spend couple $100 over here and a couple $100 over here and a couple $100 over here. And they're spending, $1,000 a month in 5 different places, but they're never giving one of them like full traction. If they were to spend that $1,000 in one place or maybe two, do you feel like that's true in real estate, that they should really find what, and understand you got to find out what works first.
Yeah.
And that's that investment I think that you make to try to figure out what's going to work. But do you feel like that's common in y'all's industry, that they're just, everybody's gung ho, but they're spread a little too thin in that sense?
You're absolutely right. And I was thinking about this earlier, when we were, before I come on the podcast, was that's exactly true, because what you really need to focus on is finding something that works and then putting all your money into that
Yeah,
pillar, right? And then what you do is you create that marketing pillar where it's bringing in a consistent amount of leads and you're getting a sufficient ROI on that investment. Then you can pivot to a different marketing pillar, right? But
sure.
focus on the one and fix it to where it works seamlessly and perfect for your business. Then move to another pillar. I mean, you only need 1, 2 really quality pillars for incoming leads to be
Sure.
successful in the business.
Yeah. What would you say if you had to pick one, and not giving away any secret sauce or anything, right? But like, what would you say for your business specifically, you as the brand, really, like, what would you say has been number one for you in terms of business, repeat business, things like that? What is the thing that stands out to you? Like, this is my go-to. If I need to turn it on or turn it off, like, this is my go-to.
It's video content.
Okay.
Video content on social media platforms,
Okay.
whether that be Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. It's video content,
Yeah. Which is
100%.
just like you said earlier. I mean, it's consistency, and it obviously it takes time. You got to have a level of knowledge there, but as we tell people, and I know you've heard me say this, is like, you don't necessarily have to overthink it. When it comes to those types of things, like, everyone's hesitant to either put their face on video or things like that. But you can get creative even in that sense. It could be, it doesn't have to be your face. It could be a walkthrough. It could be a new listing. It could be anything. But I think that it's just a level of consistency and getting over that. Maybe fear in the beginning. Was that difficult for you in the beginning, or was it just a personality thing that, like, I have no problem hopping on camera?
I don't have a problem talking on camera. I'm not the best communicator, and I mess up words a lot. You know that. I'll say the wrong words all the time. But the thing that you got to realize is, and what I didn't realize when I first started, is I wanted to make something perfect before I put it out, right?
Sure.
Another one of my mentors told me, done is better than perfect, right?
Yeah.
Make the content, put it out, you go back and watch it, see what you messed up, what you did good, and just mold it over time.
Yeah.
But create the content and put it out there.
Yeah. No, I agree. What would you say on the flip side of that? Thinking back, what was something you came across? And this could be from anything. It could have been a training that you watched or you paid for.
Hmm.
What is one thing that you're like, I put some eggs in this basket and it wound up being a rotten egg? Like, what is the thing that you're like, this was going to be the game changer, and it just wound
Oh
up
wow,
not being? Is there anything that stands
but
out?
there's so many.
Tell me the most expensive one.
um, I think the most expensive one for me was probably probably the grocery store marketing campaigns, the grocery
Okay.
carts. Yeah, I mean it.
Well,
Just
and when you think about it, because when you said that, I started thinking about it. You think about it in your space. These are people. They're captivated for an hour while they're walking through the store. Every time they look down to look at their list or put something in the basket, they're seeing my mug. Like they can't get away from it. So, I mean, in theory, like I would have probably thought the same thing,
yeah. I mean,
but it
and
wasn't.
you never know. You really sometimes you just can't measure the return
Sure,
on just having your face out there, right?
sure,
Because the people shopping, they're not actively looking to sell or buy a house, right? And
right,
so you know, you it's that money could be applied better getting yourself in front of people that are actively looking to buy or sell.
right. Yeah, for sure. I mean,
So, I'm
there's
not
a
trying.
measure. There's a
Yeah,
measure, right? Of I talk to clients about this a lot, especially if they're not extremely recurring transactions, right? If they're we talked about the tire store where you made your, acting, not debut, you've done it before, but you helped us out with that video. Is they're if you buy tires today, you're not buying tires for maybe a few years, but
right,
for their business to just stay in front of you and to stay relevant and maybe make them laugh from time to time, but just to be engaging, and whether that is doesn't always have to be humor, it could be educational, whatever. But yeah, there's no way to necessarily always quantify as like you could have had, but you also don't know how much business you lost also. And what I mean by that is like shopping through the grocery store, they see your face on there and they're like, oh, I've seen that guy around, and then a year and a half later, they're like, we need to buy, we need to sell, we're moving, we're relocating, whatever it may be. They go, who is the grocery cart guy? And then
yeah,
they forget, and then they wind up Googling and going with somebody totally different. I mean, it's one of
right.
those that I can see it working both ways. And you just have no idea who's shopping at the local Kroger to know if like they're trying to buy or sell a
Right.
house.
I mean, if you just got extra money on throwaway, go ahead and do it. But,
Right.
it could be that money could be used for a greater ROI,
For sure.
especially in the digital age.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, digital age, kind of that's my next question is how would you say AI is impacting or being used in your industry? Maybe you specifically, but just if you want to go a little broader and talk about the industry as a whole, how would you say AI is impacting the real estate industry?
So I think AI is impacting a lot of businesses across the board. I mean, it's an amazing development. Um, to me, what I see AI doing right now is helping me create leverage, which what by leverage what I mean is me being able to have extra time to do other things. I can
Sure.
get AI to do certain tasks and certain things that I used to take me several hours to do. It can do it instantaneously, right?
Right.
So I use AI to leverage my time
Sure.
and to get me back in front of talking to clients or creating content or whatever I might need to be doing at that time.
Right. How have you, I guess specifically, that's kind of what you already covered is kind of how you're currently using it. But looking at AI is like you mentioned the two things that I see AI doing the most for people, and it's a word I use all the time, but it's ideation and time. That's the two main things I see with AI. Don't get me wrong; like you can build some very complex things in ChatGPT or Gemini or any of the 12 of them that are out there now, but that's the number. It's one and two, and I don't really know what order they come in. I think they really kind of go back and forth depending on what you're doing that day. But when we're talking about creating content, you've talked a lot about, creating video and things like that. And I know that some people's apprehension is like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. I don't know. ChatGPT or Gemini is, fantastic at it. And it's not all good. It's going to generate some ideas that you're like, I would never do that. That's not going to appeal to my audience, or it's too crude, or it's, it's too cut and dry. That's not my brand, but you can tweak those things. If you train your, ChatGPT the right way, but I think it gives people an advantage now that have been apprehensive to like, I don't know what to record. I don't know what to say. I don't know. I mean, ChatGPT helps you with that. And in the same time, it's still a time saver. You didn't sit there staring at a blank computer screen for 45 minutes trying to think of what you want to say in this video. You can read it off the screen. I don't recommend that, but I mean, you want to be passionate about it. But I think it does both. Those are the two main things I feel like ChatGPT is doing for any industry right now.
I 100% agree. I mean, you can plug in a prompt into Chat GPT or any of the other AI tools, and you can get a 30-day video campaign or to put on Facebook or YouTube or whatever, and then you can take each one of those individual ideas and have it create a script for
Yep.
you.
Yep.
And I want a one. If you're doing reels on YouTube, create me a 1 minute script on this topic, so you can create a reel, right?
Yeah. I think it's
When
the
it's a
people who
short
aren't
on YouTube, excuse me.
oh yeah, it's all the same. It's all relative. I heard, I think it was Gary V the other day. I was watching a video. I played it, and he said something along the lines of, "If you're not using ChatGPT in your business right now, you're not." I'm trying to think of the word that he used. He said something along the lines of, "You're not scared of it, or you're not technically inclined. You're just lazy." Is what he
Yeah,
said. He said, because there's so many different things, and I don't care if it's corporate America or any job that you're in, but I say specifically an entrepreneur or business owner, that there's so many things that we juggle on a day-to-day basis. And there's so many things on our like to-do list, and some of them are 6 months, some of them are 2 years. Like, these are just the plans that I have of things I want to do, that using AI to your advantage to help you create some of that, put it into context. I mean, ChatGPT will go through it and tell you what order you should be doing it in. It may not always be 100% correct, but it will tell you, based on what you've told me with your time and your availability, you should be doing this every Thursday. Like, it will literally become the best personal assistant that you've ever had. And you don't have to pay them. You might pay what, $20 a month for the pro
yeah.
version. I mean, like, that's really the extent of it. So yeah, I think a lot of people should be exploring AI, and it's kind of unique to see kind of how y'all are using it in the real estate. But what would you give, I guess, what type of advice would you give to other business owners in your industry, kind of just regarding marketing in the current economy and climate that we're in right now? Would you tell them to change anything about what they're doing, or give them any insight of like, this is really what you should be focusing on?
Well, I mean, and this goes back to a couple of things we've already talked about. One, I I feel that video content is the number one source, highly rated ROI for me, um, and it's consistency. You
Yeah.
know, get a plan, be consistent, and post it. Post. Get in a
Yeah.
rhythm of doing it and be consistent. I struggle with that myself, being consistent with it. But again, my business has grown to a point where a lot of my main business is inbound calls or referral
Sure.
business. But when I do have some dips or valleys, I can start making videos and things pick right back up.
Yeah.
So to me, video has always been, well, not, I can't say always, but here, the last, 5, 6 years, video has been my go-to, when I needed to increase business.
Yeah. And you answered my second question I'm about to ask, but I'm gonna ask you the first one first, because that's a great
Okay.
answer for the second one. But what is, if you had to summarize your journey from corporate America into real estate, from the investment side to single family, what is one piece of advice from your knowledge, your experience, that you would give to aspiring entrepreneurs or business owners in general? It doesn't have to be real estate, just piece of advice that you would tell them, this is what you should focus your time and energy on.
Learning how to market.
It's a good one. It's a great one for me.
Again, the best marketer wins.
Yeah.
So learn how to market, learn how, the whole thing is, be able to hunt for your own food, right?
Yeah.
Don't, you can bring in experts to do the high level stuff like yourself, right?
Yeah.
Which Speak Loud's doing some great stuff, especially for, businesses that are established and have a good marketing budget there. But
Sure.
if you're just starting out, you know, video, be consistent, and just follow your plan.
Heard a business mentor of mine that his one of his lines he always talks about just businesses going out of business or never making it. And he said the number one killer of all small business is obscurity. People just simply don't know that you exist. And that's it. Like he was, that is the number one. It's not funding, it's not anything else, but you can, and we've seen it. You and I both seen it. We've seen it. People we know, businesses around, it doesn't matter. You can put it in any context in any city in America, is that businesses will open the doors and they're just expecting people to walk in. They're just expecting people to know about them, and maybe some do, but when they consider that they're paying $3 to $5 to $10 to $12,000 a month for that lease, and they're going, we're not making enough to even cover the utilities, let alone the lease. Is that I would 100% agree with you. Is that and that's some of the reasons why we do these podcasts, is we understand that there are small and even medium-sized businesses that are struggling or just getting started, aspiring entrepreneurs that they are working on that piece of the puzzle. And if we can shed any light on that, and there's people that aren't even in real estate that can take something from this episode and go, that's what I need to be focused on. If they can learn something from one of our podcasts where we're doing kind of how-tos or walkthroughs, it's free. I constantly use the term YouTube University, is that, to go get your degree from YouTube University. There are, and don't get me wrong, there's bad information out there too, but you kind of got to go through and use your brain a little bit and go, does that really make sense? This guy is a little off, or maybe it's a video from 6 years ago and some things have changed. But especially in the beginning, you have time. At the end of the day, you have time. Even as busy as I am, as busy as you are, Wes, we still have the time if we need it to go, I'm going to go check out this 24-minute video on YouTube about how to properly prompt AI to help me with this or that task. Or I'm going to go do a level of research on a CRM or Facebook ads or whatever it is. There's so much information that's out there in the world that we live in now that wasn't available 20 years ago, that everyone can become a level of expert in a lot of things. And I think that them being able to know how to market themselves is probably, because it doesn't matter how great your product is. It doesn't matter. You could have the best thing on the planet, but if no one knows about it, no one knows you exist, then it doesn't matter. No one's ever going to know.
You bring up a great point. I mean, I'm old enough to remember before there was YouTube, and at this point now, I don't know how we even functioned without YouTube.
Yeah.
Being able to look up how to do something, I guess we just figured it out back then,
or just did it wrong. One of the
two. Did it wrong. I mean, because there's at least several times a week that I'm on YouTube looking up how to do something, right? Yep. And there's a bunch of great information, and you can watch a couple of videos and get varying viewpoints on the same topic, sure, and then come to realization on what would work best for you, right?
Right.
So.
And it's funny is that we're doing this podcast. I actually heard on the radio this morning that the first video that was uploaded to YouTube turned 19 today. So fun fact for the podcast for today.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So it turned 19, and they talked about the views. It's surprisingly, they were taking guesses, and it doesn't have 1 billion views. It has like 350 million views, and it's a terrible video. Like nothing's happening in it. It's just like a guy walking around or something like that. I actually need to go watch. I just heard him talking about it on the radio, but cool fun fact talking about YouTube. Today is the 19th anniversary of the first ever video that was on YouTube. So that's cool stuff. So moving forward, the next question was, what is one key marketing insight you want listeners to remember? But I felt like you gave us a really good, and you feel free to answer it if you have something else, but talking about the importance of, video content, doing video content. Done is better than perfect. Record some video, put it out there. One thing I would add, consistency. Yeah. One thing I would add there is don't take for granted what you know. And the process is, I think a lot of, it could be real estate, insurance, marketing. I don't care if you're a bakery. We take for granted the day-to-day, filling out a contract, sending an email, doing an insurance quote, us doing like an audit on something like that. Those things can all be interesting to your audience. We don't look at them as content because it's just, this is what we do every day. This is just how it works. I go over here to, Canva or Photoshop or Final Cut Pro. And like for you log into these different systems and we just do it. But that can be valuable information for those watching. For those that are interested, it's if you get outside that box of your day to day, you can find some pretty easy content to do. It's just you have to make time for it.
Yeah. So even if you ask ChatGPT for a marketing campaign or video campaign or what you should post, I mean, it's going to tell you some really obvious, simple things that's going over your head because you are in it every day. you think it's easy, you're doing these transactions, you're working with these tools, but people that don't buy and sell a house every day, or they just don't know, right?
Yeah,
And most people don't, right? So
sure.
this is, most people, some people are in their house 10, 15 years, some sell a house every 5 years. So it's not a very common
Right.
occurrence, right? And so things change, laws change, contracts change. Um, and so it's, whatever you're doing in your business, you are an expert in that business, and
Yeah.
you have things to create content about.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Wes, man, we're wrapping up. I want people to know how they can learn more about your business, where they can follow you. How can they find you? Tell us about your website and social media.
Website www.dorseyrealtygroup.com, and Dorsey Realty Group across all socials, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. You can find me there.
That's it. You guys go give this guy a follow if you're ever looking to buy or sell. He's your guy to talk to. And what I know about Wes, because I know him personally, is he's going to give you honest advice. He's not looking to just close you as a customer. He's looking for the right fit. He's looking for the right place. He's not just going to pitch a house to you. I've known him long enough to know that he knows what he's talking about. And specifically, if you're looking at Wylie, Saxe, Murphy, Lavon, you're looking at this area. I mean, there's nobody that's a better expert for this area than somebody that's been here, over 20 years, right? So definitely follow him along. Even if you're not buying or selling today, you never know when you might need him, and you'll remember that guy. Maybe you didn't see him on the shopping cart, but if you're following him on social media, you might see him there. But Wes, man, I appreciate you taking some time out of your day and sharing some insights with us. And man, I'm gonna let you get back to it. Go help some more people find some homes.
Thanks, DJ. Thanks for letting me on.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thanks everybody for tuning in. We will see you on the next episode of the Speak Loud podcast. Thanks for tuning in.